React simplifies the process. Obviously, this was a solution that was, here's how React makes this manageable. So before React, updating the UI dynamically in a browser relied heavily on, so essentially it helps you to, okay, so to wrap up, let's get ChatGPT to provide a summary of what we've just learned. What's up guys? So as you know, I've been pretty dedicated to my coding for the past 4 months now, mainly using HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. And I want to start diving into other frameworks like React. So I thought in this particular video, why don't we just try and build sort of a foundational level of what React is, and what better place to do it but with ChatGPT. So I'm going to ask ChatGPT a whole bunch of questions and hopefully we get some really sort of detailed level answers. I'm going to ask it some pretty basic questions because I want to sort of approach it on a very basic level. So let's dive in and let's learn about React. Tell me what React is. The front end framework. All right, let's see what ChatGPT is going to tell us. Okay, React is a JavaScript library for building user interfaces, particularly for single-page web applications. It is maintained by Meta, formerly Facebook, and a community of developers. React simplifies the process of creating interactive and dynamic user interfaces by breaking them down into reusable components. Component-based architecture. React applications are built using components. All right. Let's grab this. Explain to me what a component is. Like I am 5. I'm 5. Okay, imagine you're playing with Lego blocks. Each Lego block is a piece that does one small job, like being a door, a window, or a wheel. You can use these blocks to build bigger things like a house, a car, or a spaceship. The cool thing is if you want another window or wheel, you don't need to make it from scratch, you just grab another block. In React, a component is like a Lego block. Okay, cool. For a website or app, it's a small piece that does one job. For example, a button on a page is a component. A box to type your name is a component. Even the whole header at the top of the website can be a component. Okay, so the entire website there. Let me just increase the size of this, I think maybe make it a bit better. So you can put these pieces together to make a full website, just like building a Lego. And if you need the same button in a lot of places, no problem, you can reuse the same block component everywhere. Can you give me an example of what it might look like in code? Let's have a look. Sure, here's a simple example of React component written using JSX. So you import React from React, define a component called myButton. Okay, so you create a function myButton and it returns button click me. Export the component so it can be, oops, what's this? Adobe client, yep, allow. Export the component so it can be used elsewhere. Export default myButton. What's happening here? You import React, yep, you create a function. This defines a component called myButton. Return, inside the return, we describe what the component should display. In this case, it creates a button that says click me, reusable once created. You can use this myButton component anywhere on your app. Okay, cool. How to use this component? If you wanted to use the myButton component in a larger app, you do something like this. Okay, for React, function, return a div with welcome to my app. Use myButton component here. All right, cool. So the output screen would be welcome to my app, click me. Based on, okay, so now every time you include myButton, React will create another button for you, just like adding more Lego blocks. All right, okay, so what does so import React lets us use React to create components. All right, is React a program? Is React a program? Might sound silly, let's ask. Not exactly. Okay, React is not a program you run, it's a library. It's a collection of pre-written code that helps developers build websites and apps more easily. Okay, think of React as a toolkit for building things. If you're building a house, you use tools like hammers and saws to make the process easier. Similarly, when you're building a website or app, you use React to make the process of creating a user interfaces, the part people see and interact with easier. You don't run React like a program, but you use it inside your code where you're developing an application When you're done, your code gets compiled, translated into plain HTML, CSS, and JavaScript, which browsers can understand. In summary, React is a library, not a program. Okay, so if it's a library, I'm just kind of struggling to understand. So you're importing it. Okay, let's just ask ChatGPT. So why do I need to import React? I know these questions might sound so basic and ridiculous, but maybe you're thinking about this stuff. Maybe you have no idea about what React is. I'm looking at it with fresh eyes. So there you go. Great question. Here's why you need to import React into your code. Understanding JSX. React uses a special syntax called JSX, JavaScript XML, which looks like HTML, but works inside JavaScript. For example, my function, my component, returns a heading hello world, okay? Under the hood, so JavaScript XML is not real HTML. It gets converted into JavaScript that looks similar like this. Function, my component, return react.create element h1 null hello. Oh, okay, so under the hood, JSX is not real HTML. It gets converted into JavaScript that looks like this, okay? The react.create element function is what tells React to create a new element, like the H1 in this case. Without React, this function doesn't exist and JSX won't work. Oh, okay. So without the React, this function doesn't exist and JSX won't work. 2, React provides essential functions. So React gives you tools like react.create element, and okay, uses behind the scenes for JSX. I see, okay, so React features like state hooks and context. Without importing React, your code won't know how to handle these functions. Okay, cool, nice. So modern updates are React 17+. In older versions of React, importing React was mandatory for all files using JSX because React was indirectly responsible for compiling the JSX. However, since React 17, you don't always need to import React explicitly in files where you're using JSX. React has streamlined this step by including JSX support automatically. When to import React? If you're using React features directly, react.useState, react.create element, you still need to import React. Okay, I see. If you're writing modern JSX and not using React features directly, you might need to you might not need the explicit import depending on your. So the TLDR, you import React because it powers JSX. It provides the essential tools you need to build components and manage your app. Even if modern setups make this optional for JSX, it's also required for advanced React features. Okay, so why was React created in the first place? How was React here? React was created to solve specific problems developers were facing when building dynamic and interactive web applications. Here's a breakdown of why React came into existence and how it addressed these challenges. So challenge number 1, complex user interfaces. In the early 2010s, websites and applications were becoming increasingly interactive. Think Facebook, feeds, Gmail, etc. Managing complex UIs with many moving parts was hard because the traditional way of manipulating the DOM, so the document object model, generally the browser, was slow and cumbersome. Developers often had to write spaghetti code to update parts of a page dynamically. Okay, right. So just to get a clarification on spaghetti code, because maybe I know what it is, but I just want to kind of get a bit more of a, what is spaghetti code? I'll go back to the to that history just in a second. So spaghetti code refers to messy, tangled, and poorly organized programming code that is difficult to understand, follow, or maintain. The term comes from the idea that code is structured like a bowl of spaghetti with noodles, lines of code, twisting and turning everywhere without clear structure. Okay, cool. So let's go back here just quickly. So where are we? So developers often had to write spaghetti code to update parts of a page dynamically. React solution. React introduced a component-based architecture that breaks the UI into smaller, reusable pieces. These components made it easier to organize and maintain code for complex UIs. Okay, cool. Why don't we ask if ChatGPT, can you give us, can you provide an example of where React provided a solution to challenge 1? Let's have a look. I like to visualize these things because I feel like once I get a visual representation of it, I can really start to understand it. I'm definitely more of a kind of a visual learner. Sure, let's look at challenge 1, complex user interfaces, and how React provide a solution through component-based architecture. Example 1, a dynamic news feed like Facebook's news feed. Okay, before React, so obviously Facebook, I think, was one of the first companies to create a news feed. So makes sense why they needed a tool like React or a library like React if they were constantly having to update the hard code. So example, a dynamic news feed like Facebook news feeds. Before React, creating a dynamic news feed, example Facebook feed, was very challenging because it required updating only the posts or comments that changed without reloading the entire page. Okay, keeping track of what users liked, commented on, or shared in real time, organizing the code for such a large interactive UI in a way that was maintainable and scalable. So without React, developers often used vanilla JavaScript or jQuery, which made the code messy and hard to maintain. As features grew, each new feature required additional code that often interacted directly with other parts of the page, leading to spaghetti code. I see, okay. So how React solves this? React simplifies the process by breaking the news feed into components. Each component is independent, reusable, and manages its own data. Right, okay, so for example, the newsfeed component displays the entire feed. Okay, so the post component represents each individual post. The comment component handles comments for each post, and the like button component handles the likes for the post. Okay, so yeah, obviously this was a solution that was, Facebook had a massive problem with updating their own UI because they had to update the entire sort of the web page or the entire, file. So instead, they create a React so that it only works on specific components. So things like the newsfeed, the post. Okay, cool. So code example, here's how React makes this manageable. Newsfeed with React. So you import React function, like button. Okay, so you've called a variable here, react.useState. So return button, set likes, 1, likes, okay, button, function. All right, cool. Yep, post component. I see. So newsfeed component, function newsfeed. So this is all because we were able to import React. We can use these sorts of functions. Okay, let's have a look. Functions of code, newsfeed. All right, so breaking the UI into components, the newsfeed component manages the list of posts. Each post component handles its own content, likes and comments. The comment and like button components focus on their specific functionality. Okay, yeah. So what's happening here? So the state management, React state use state is used to handle dynamic data like likes and efficient updates. When you click a like button, only that specific button state is updated. React's virtual DOM ensures efficient updates without reloading the entire page. Okay, I see. Yep. So essentially it helps you to just work within one particular section, or one particular component can just be updated and the rest of the website can stay static. So I know it sounds like I'm having a bit of a breakthrough here, but I didn't completely understand it. Now I think I'm starting to understand a little bit more. Hopefully this is helpful. Reusability, the post and comment components can be reused for every post in the feed, reducing duplicate code. Okay, so real world example, Facebook used React to redesign its news feed. This allows them to update individual posts and comments in real time without affecting their parts of the page, other parts of the page, handle complex UIs more efficiently by reusing components like buttons, posts, and comments, and then maintain cleaner code base, making it easier to add new features and debug issues. This approach dramatically simplified building and scaling dynamic UIs like the Facebook feed. Okay, cool. Let's have a look. Let's go back up here because I think I asked a pretty big question and I had a few responses. What is spaghetti code? So under, where were we here? So challenge 1 was to obviously React introduce component-based architecture. Yep, so challenge 2, slow performance. All right, so let's say, what did I ask here? Because I think I asked a pretty good question, and I got a decent answer. Okay, so can you provide, yep, let's just do it here. Let's provide an example where React provided a solution for challenge 2. Okay, let's have a look. So challenge 2, slow performance due to frequent DOM updates. So before React, updating the UI dynamically in a browser relied heavily on directly manipulating the DOM, document object model. This process was slow, especially for complex interactive applications, because every update, like changing a text or adding a list item, caused the browser to re-render parts of the page. Frequent updates, example live notifications or chat messages, meant the browser had to repeatedly calculate styles, layouts, and repaint the page. React addressed this problem with its virtual DOM. Example, a live chat application. So problem without React, imagine a live chat app, messages arrive in real time. Each new message needs to be displayed immediately. In traditional JavaScript, every new message required directly updating the DOM. Okay, I see. So we've got here, document, get to chat, call a variable here, message. So hello, chat container dot append child new message. Okay, so this is obviously just using vanilla JavaScript without React. Every time a message was added, the DOM was manipulated directly. The browser recalculated styles, layouts, and repainted the entire chat box. Performance slowed as the number of messages grew. Okay, and so how React solved this problem is with React, the virtual DOM optimizes how updates happen. React maintains a virtual DOM, a lightweight copy of the actual DOM. When a new message arrives, React updates the virtual DOM. React compares the updated virtual DOM to the previous one, and it finds the minimal changes and applies those changes to the actual DOM. Okay, this approach dramatically reduces the workload for the browser. Okay, I see. So before React, the browser was having to reload updates all the time. After React uses a virtual DOM, which helps to optimize updates without having the page constantly reload, which obviously meant that, you know, whatever website, like if you were using Facebook, it would be a lot slower to interact with than it would without React. So React code example, live chat. Here's how live chat app works with React. So you import React, use state from React, function, chat message, so return message, then the chat app component. Okay, so you call the function here, messages, set messages, state into an empty array, simulate receiving a new message, add message, constant new message, set messages, right, okay. So to all the strings there, lists in the array, return div. So what's happening here? So React use state manages the list of chat messages. When a new message is added, the state updates and React automatically re-renders only the necessary parts of the UI. Efficient updates with the virtual DOM. When a new message is added, React updates the virtual DOM first. It compares the updated virtual DOM with the old one to detect any changes. Oh, okay, that's cool. And then it updates only the part of the real DOM that changed, the new message. I see. So instead of updating the entire page, React will just will compare that component or compare the updated virtual DOM with the one that detected the change. And then it only updates that particular part. So, okay, so that's you can understand why there's performance gains as well. The entire chat container isn't repainted for every new message, which minimizes the unnecessary work and improves performance even with hundreds of messages. Real world example, live chat system like Facebook Messenger or Slack benefits from this approach. Before React, every new message required full DOM updates, slowing down the application as the chat grew. With React, the virtual DOM ensures that only the new message or the necessary updates is rendered, keeping the app fast and responsive. This makes React ideal for real-time applications like chat systems, notifications, and dashboards where frequent updates are common. Ah, okay, cool. All right, let's have a look at the last. So obviously with performance, you can see how React is super important for that aspect. What's another challenge? Rebuilding Facebook's UI. Okay, so this might be interesting. React was created by Jordan Wake. Sorry, Jordan, if I've completely butchered your name. A software engineer at Facebook in 2011. Facebook needed a better way to handle the highly dynamic features of its platform, like the news feed. Okay, updating parts of the UI dynamically, like comments, likes, and notifications, was getting increasingly challenging. They also needed a solution that would work seamlessly across Facebook's web and mobile apps. React's solution. So React allowed Facebook to build a faster, more efficient and scalable UI system. React's declarative approach describing what the UI should look like, and React takes care of the updates, simplified the development process. All right, cool. And the other challenge, reusability. Before React, developers often had to rewrite similar UI code in different places, leading to duplicated efforts and bugs. React solution, React components are reusable, meaning you can write them once and then use them anywhere in your app. And the fifth challenge is developer experience. Developers were struggling with tools that made debugging and testing harder, especially in large-scale applications. React solution, React provided a clear structure with its component-based design. It came with tools like React Developer Tools for better debugging. All right, cool. React's impact. Since its release in 2013 as an open source project, React has revolutionized how developers think about building web applications. Its popularity grew quickly because it solved real world problems for developers. It was simple to learn, but powerful enough to handle complex apps. And it introduced innovative ideas like the virtual DOM and hooks. Today, React is one of the most widely used libraries for building web apps, thanks to its focus on performance, simplicity, and flexibility. Okay, that's pretty cool. So the virtual DOM, I want to know how this works. Explain to me how the virtual DOM works. So the virtual DOM is one of React's key features, and it helps make updates to the user interface faster and more efficient. Let's break it down step by step. What is the DOM? So the DOM object model, document object model, is the browser's representation of the structure of the web page. It's like a tree. Each element, like a div or a button, is a node. JavaScript can manipulate the structure to update the UI. The problem is the DOM is slow to update because every change requires recalculating styles, layouts, and rendering. What is the virtual DOM? The virtual DOM is a lightweight, in-memory representation of the actual DOM. It's like a copy of the real DOM that React uses to figure out what needs to be updated without directly touching the real DOM. Okay, cool. So how the virtual DOM works. Step-by-step process, initiating rendering. When you create your React app, React builds the virtual DOM based on your components and renders it into the actual DOM. State or props change. When something changes in your app, example, the user clicks a button or new data arrives, React updates the virtual DOM instead of the real DOM. Reconciliation. React compares the updated virtual DOM with the previous version using a process called reconciliation. Okay, so it identifies the difference or diffs between the two versions. Wow, okay. Efficient updates. React updates only the part of the real DOM that have changed based on the differences it found. This minimizes the number of direct changes in the real DOM, making updates faster. So it's just basically making comparisons when there's something that is different from the real DOM to the virtual DOM. React just sort of notifies whatever those changes are, and then it applies those changes to the real DOM. So example, adding a button to a list without the virtual DOM. This is an example. Add a button directly to the real DOM. The browser recalculates styles, layouts, and repaints the entire section of the page. This can be slow if the page is complex. Okay, so with the virtual DOM, React updates the virtual DOM to include the new button. React compares the updated virtual DOM with the old one to find the minimum changes, in this case, just the new button. React updates only the new button in the real DOM, skipping unnecessary recalculations for the rest of the page. Man, that must happen like lightning fast. So benefits of the virtual DOM. Performance. By reducing the number of actual DOM updates, React makes UI updates faster. Efficiency. Only the necessary parts of the real DOM are updated instead of re-rendering the entire page. And developer friendly. You write declarative code, example, set state or update your app, and React handles the complex DOM updates for you. Visualization. So imagine a to-do app. If you add a new item to the list, React updates the virtual DOM with the new item. React compares the updated virtual DOM with the old one and finds that only one item is new. React updates only that new item in the real DOM, leaving the rest unchanged. This makes the app feel fast, even if there are hundreds of items in the list. Very, very cool. So by summary, the virtual DOM acts like a middleman, yes, between your code and the real DOM. By making changes in the virtual DOM first, React can calculate the most efficient way to update the real DOM, improving performance and making your app and making your app more responsive. That's pretty cool. I think I've got a pretty good idea about React and why it is so damn important now, because a lot of websites use this level of technology now, chat bots, chat features. They're using, news feeds. They're using things that have a lot of different components on the page, and all those separate components can be updated, as like their own little web page essentially. And instead of having to update the entire page all the time, which is obviously extremely inefficient, React can help you to create components and then just work within those components. And if people are interacting with those components, only those components get updated. The entire page does not need to be updated. So that's really cool, really interesting. Can you now summarize the important parts of this chat? Okay, so to wrap up, let's get ChatGPT to provide a summary of what we've just learned. So here's a summary of the important parts we covered in this chat. What is React? So React is a JavaScript library. Its key features include component-based architecture, virtual DOM for fast updates, declarative syntax. So we didn't really go over declarative syntax that much, but maybe I might do that in another video. Unidirectional data flow for predictability. These two things, maybe we'll come back next time and we'll go over those in a React part 2. What is a component? So we discussed the component. A component is a reusable, self-contained piece of UI like a button or form. And then why import React? React provides the tools and functions like React.createElement needed to handle JSX and manage components. And so why was React created? It was created to handle complex UIs efficiently, especially for applications like Facebook Newsfeed. Obviously it was invented by Facebook. Then we talked about what spaghetti code was. And so here's an example that they provided of React solving a challenge. So the challenge 1 was React simplifies building a dynamic newsfeed by breaking it into reusable components like post and like button. And challenge 2, slow performance. React improves performance in a live chat app by using the virtual DOM to update only the necessary parts of the real DOM. And so how does a virtual DOM work? Virtual DOM is a lightweight in-memory copy of the real DOM. It's basically a middleman. And it interacts with the real DOM. Any updates that happen on the virtual DOM is then compared to the real DOM, and then whatever's updated gets updated. Whatever is not updated, gets updated. And so, yeah, this process improves performance by reducing expensive DOM operations. That's it, guys. I think we're gonna wrap it up here. Hopefully you've got a good idea about what React is now. I'm trying to approach it just with a completely sort of fresh perspective. Like I've got really no experience with React. So hopefully you guys learned something. I definitely learned something. I mean, obviously you hear about React all the time. It's used everywhere. It's used by pretty much every single web developer, or it's used in every single web application, web stack. So yeah, hopefully that's given you kind of a good foundation. I created this video because it's a good reference for me to go back and have a look at, what this actually is, because when I'm sort of creating things or when I'm starting out with a new project, I just need like this base level understanding of what I'm doing. And then I can really build on my knowledge a lot easier once I've got the fundamentals covered. Hopefully this video has been helpful to you as well. I'll see you guys in the next one.